All right, the headlight fairing is coming along pretty good. I still got a little bit more I wanted to add. It just wasn't, when I sat down on the airflow over it, I didn't want it hitting me in the chest. So I wanted to kind of go over my helmet a little bit, but that's it so far. I mean, it's still rough, but by the time I put tape over it and do my one-off technique, if you watch some of my other videos, you'll be able to see that. The tape will hide 99% of any kind of flaws in it. And you can see it's standing off, so the glass will come to about in here and it'll get trimmed. I'm most likely going to cut an angle to this and finish feathering it out so that this will come, instead of being so straight like so, it'll be more of an angle coming in to the gauge right here, and then this will be out about this far, and it'll allow, because the handlebars turn and this is fixed, it's in fixed position. So I mean, in the interim of waiting for glue to dry and all that kind of stuff, I'll touch base. I'll show you. I got my rear sets mounted. It had these big, gigantic, bulky things, and I didn't want that, so I machined at some steel plugs and then welded it in the original bolt hole for one of them, and then welded it to the back side. The rest of this I'm going to clean it up, but these are GSXR 750 rear sets to go on here, and then I did the same thing to the other side. You can see it's all mounted up. I'll have to finish welding it once I disassemble everything. I got the rear shock in. That rear shock is from a 2006 R1, and got that mounted in there. I had to machine up some adapters and stuff and press out the original parts inside the shock, and then press in the new adapters that I made, and so it would bolt in. And you can probably see some of the adapters in there on the base of it, but all in all it was the same length, all worked well. So anyways, when I come back to the video, I'll probably have this all sanded up and have it ready to go for the putting the fiberglass on. So when we come back, I'll have it sanded up, and you can get to see it in its final stage before it starts doing the fiberglass work, and we'll go from there. All right, so we have the headlight fairings all laid up. I've already done a rough trim of the headlight fairing, and I went ahead and polished a ring in here because I made a ring that goes around the headlight. And I used actually a CO2 tank that had an 8-inch diameter. I taped it up and then laid a glass ring around it, and then I cut it while the glass was still green. I cut it with a razor knife, and then I just glued it all back together, and it's all cured. So what I have to do now is go through and trim this out. There is a hint of a black line on there because I traced a straight line around the radius of the tank, so I had a reference line that would transfer into the fiberglass, so I'm able to trim it, and then that will go inside here like so and get glassed in position. Once it's done, then I'll be able to sand out any irregularities that's in this, because all I did was just rough cut it out. It's not square, it's not, it's not perfectly round. So once that's done, then I can actually work on getting it mounted, and then I'll true up the entire assembly and then prep it for body work, get it all nice and clean and symmetrical, and be ready for paint. So I just want to touch base, show you what I've done so far, so when I come back to it, we'll have this all mounted in and start working on trying to clean up and sanding it. All right, we got the ring is glued in position. You can probably see where I traced it and centered it out, and then I mixed up some polyester putty out of Cabosil and milled fibers and got it glued in position. This will cure, then I'll be able to trim the excess out on the inside and put a nice radius in towards the light bulb. And then what I'll probably do is come in and reinforce with some patches of actual fiberglass to make sure that the ring can't be broken free from the actual part. Once that's done, then I'll work on either getting it mounted or finish trimming it up. I'll most likely work on mounting it, because then that way I can symmetrically get it sanded and any kind of body work that needs to be done to it, because these are one-off parts. You know, they can have, you know, some imperfections. I mean, the surface quality is not that great. I mean, it's going to be a lot of sanding. That's typical for a one-off part. But once it's all done, it'll be nice and smooth and be ready for painting when it's all done. So anyways, we'll come back whenever I get the other part glassed in, and I'll get this ring cleaned out. I have the headlight fairing is all mounted. It's probably about 85% complete as far as sanding, and I got it mounted at the top with some bent some steel and fiberglass that in. You can probably see I use Bondo to actually glue it in place because it cures really fast, and then I take and clean up the Bondo and then actually glass over the top of it. So the Bondo works great for gluing parts down while you're, so you don't have to hold it very long or tape it or whatever. It'll cure within a couple minutes, especially if you mix the Bondo kind of hot. It's all mounted. I got a nice radius on there. It still, you know, has some light pinholes from the air bubbles in the putty that I put on there. I have to, because of the travel, I only have about 4 inches right here, so I'm most likely, and then I plan to have a wheel hugger on the tire, so I'm probably going to come in here and scallop out the bottom with a piece of half round, so that would give me the extra clearance with the wheel hugger in there, because I don't want to move the light up. I like the position that it's at. But anyways, that's the headlight cowl or fairing. And while I've been waiting on glues to dry, I have made some covers for the side. If you've seen some of the other videos, you'll know that the FJ has this big opening on both sides. So I drilled some holes and welded in some threaded inserts into the frame, and then I made this fiberglass panel to go up here. It hasn't been fully trimmed yet. I may have to add a light extension to the front of it. On the other side, I'm actually doing this. I just put I mix up polyester resin, Cabocil, and milled fibers, and I taped up the frame, and then I put it in position when I made the item, and then that will glue to the contour of the frame, henceforth allowing it to be mounted only on single side. And you can see it's very, very sturdy. So then I can remove it and you can access there. So anyways, I plan to kind of trim this out some more and make a more decorative look to it. So stay tuned. I'll be back whenever I actually do some more to the actual fairing in another episode, and then I'll touch base on these side panels in those other episodes. So see you on the next one.